Yeah.
So what would you describe as a grand old time in your gender?
As
What
a-
is, like, say, euphoria? That terminology kind of reminds me of, what people describe as gender euphoria.
Yeah, gender euphoria. For me, ooh, that's a fun one. I don't know that I very frequently have experiences of gender euphoria, except for moments where it's like, moments where the hair and the makeup have just come together like perfectly. Like those are the moments where I'm like, this is an absolute serve. And like when I just look at what I'm doing and how I'm presenting it, I'm like, I did that. That's the exact wording I will usually have. Like looking in the mirror, like, absolutely. That's exactly perfect. There it is.
Was this an I did that day?
Today, not necessarily. Not really. Not really, but largely because I have a migraine and because I have
And
a
you
headache.
still managed to do that eyeshadow?
Well, fortunately, this is just a liquid multi-chrome shadow, so it did most of this on its own.
Gotcha.
The only thing it didn't do was the eyeliner. That took an extra second, but no, getting the wig to stay in place and a bunch of other things, that takes a fair
You've got a really good optical illusion going on there.
I know. It's a real good lace front.
Nice,
This is the power of a really good lace front. Is it'll just sort of look very much like, oh, that's the reason I like them. It's the reason I enjoy a good lace front. But I don't know. Generally speaking, this is the minimal amount of work I will put into putting a face on. It is just an eye and a lip and no face anything, which feels often for me it feels like I've left it sort of incomplete at that point. If I just did the eyes, it would be fine. But if I add a lip in there, it makes the rest of it feel incomplete. But at the same time, I felt like if I had the wig and I didn't at least put a lip on with it too, I don't like doing that. So I had to do both. That said, this is not necessarily the most successful of days, but again, it's migraine things. I don't have the energy to put into all of it.
Yeah.
And to need to do so a lot often feels, I don't know, sometimes the sort of performative part of it, and when I say performative there, I don't mean that that all of this is fully an illusion and a performance. No, it's just
the fun parts.
Exactly. While I enjoy it, and that part is very fun for me just in general and feels very fulfilling, that's more of as an art thing that I like doing, almost I'm also an artist, so I enjoy making things and creating things, and if that thing is creating a look and using all of these different products, great, lovely, that's another way that I can sort of express that. But the sort of performative aspects of that require so much effort and so much time that I don't most days have the energy to do all of that. It doesn't really change the rest of it. It even change how I'm going to present that day. This top and skirt combo is not necessarily the best when it snowed yesterday, right? That's not necessarily the most practical thing in the world. There are some days where I'm like, yeah, I'll just not do all of that because that doesn't make sense to do. I don't know. There's a practicality to my presentation a lot of the times. And then sometimes there's absolutely no practicality to it and it's just fun. But this is one of the days where earlier on in the day, practicality seemed like it was winning. And then I figured, there's going to be a camera and I have to do something. This is the something. But yeah.
So practicality versus fun. How often would you say this is always something you need to deliberate about?
It is a lot of the time. And I suppose by deliberate there, I suppose, like, it's not... I will know almost instantly when I've woken up any particular morning the way that the day needs to go. Okay. Like, I will know, it's sort of just in my spirit, like, yep, today is the day that I'm going to have to go, like, a few more steps this way or a few more steps that way, depending on what the circumstances require of me. But I have spent a lot of time crafting a wardrobe for myself where any of the items I put on are going to feel fine to me. And because of that, like, because of having that, like, having all of those things, all those different pieces that I could reasonably put together at any point if I wanted to, having all those separate items that'll work together, regardless of how I choose to present, makes me feel pretty all right. Because I've taken care of it like that ahead of time, spent more of the work ahead of time. I don't have to do as much work later on. I just have to focus on the styling portion or something like that, which is easier to do when I have a wardrobe full of things that fit and look good. Nice. So, yeah.
So, the work of this, when would you say the work started of figuring out your gender?
Well, there's, like, so many phases of that. There's, like, so many different phases of that. There's the chapters. Like, right? So I would say that, like, the first, the sort of first phase of, like, realizing that there was a part of me that was more inclined towards femininity rather than towards masculinity was in high school when I discovered the band Evanescence and found just a very specific, like, expression of femininity that made sense to me and that, like, worked really nicely and that I loved. Just been a goth girl ever since, like, that's sort of just where I live. But, like, seeing that and then seeing... Oh man, at one point I was going to do a video essay about this and I just never finished it because it took too much time to do all of that. Was a my, like, love and fascination with, like, specifically female superheroes, and, like, no matter how they are presenting themselves, though I do have a very, very strong fondness for all of the really bad ones from, like, 2002 to, like, well, I would say then to, like, 2019, because sort of after that point, if it's really bad, I'm just not going to do it, because the ones that have been more recent and really bad have also had a lack of soul and heart to them that makes them not fun. Whereas, like, Elektra was a really funny movie. Like, it's not good, but it's so fun. And, like, and Catwoman, additionally, not a good movie. I know this. I know this in my soul and spirit. It is one of my favorite movies to watch. It is a great first date movie, by the way, because if they do not laugh, you leave. That's how that goes. That's that's how that goes. If they don't get that this is camp, the relationship should not continue. Literally broken up with someone for that exact reason. But, like, it's that, like, it's sort of Catwoman specifically influenced the way that I walk a lot of the time. Oh, wow. So when I'm, like, feeling the most confident, I will walk a lot like Halle Berry did in that one scene where she's walking along the little rooftop at the midpoint of the movie, not at the end of the movie. Granted, it's the same walk both times, but, like, at how she's walking at the middle section of that movie, like, when she's just put on her costume for the first time and she is feeling herself and also, like, on the prowl at that point, she's literally trying to find somebody who committed a crime at that moment. So, like, I don't know. But the way that she walks, and I watched a special DVD feature at one point where she sort of described it, like, when she was in that costume, one of the things that she made sure to do movement-wise was, like, because cats do this, they won't move their eyes over, they will move their entire head to look in a direction. So like, rather than using turning my entire body to face the thing that I'm trying to like look at, or that I'm in the direction that I'm heading. I don't know. Like it influenced the way that I walk. And that's like just one way that femininity sort of like a very specific version of femininity sort of presented itself. And I think that I had a word at one point to describe what this like type of femininity was. It was like, because it's not so much the sexual nature of that. Like one, I'm asexual, and this is one of those moments where like that comes up for me because I've never like looked at those scenes and been like, oh, that's so sexy. And like, it's a lady dressed up as a cat walking across a screen. I don't particularly think that that's sexy. What I think it is that it's confident, and like it's a very like a confident, self-assured woman who understands her own sexuality and understands her own sensuality like pretty innately, and feels that in herself, and feels that part of herself. That is incredible. I love that. That Absolutely. Is so nice to see.